Hey, this is Teddy Atlas, and we're watching Dontaesboxingnation. Keep watching. Otherwise,
Dontaesboxingnation, what's going on, guys? You know, it all started about 4 years ago when Floyd Mayweather was negotiating a fight with Manny Pacquiao. Pacquiao had demands, Floyd Mayweather had demands. Floyd Mayweather would go on to accept Pacquiao's demands and even go so far as to signing the contract. When it was time for Manny Pacquiao to sign the contract, he refused to sign the contract. Why? Because Manny Pacquiao refused to do Olympic-style random drug testing. Okay? Manny Pacquiao would later on ask Floyd Mayweather for a cutoff date. He originally wanted a 30-day cutoff date. Then he moved it down to 19 days. Then, he came down to like 14 days. Okay? But whatever the number was, Manny Pacquiao wanted a cutoff date, which would completely defy the whole purpose of having a random style drug test. So despite making the most money that Manny Pacquiao would have ever made in his entire career, participating in the largest fight in boxing history possibly, Manny Pacquiao elects to turn down this fight because he wasn't ready to subject himself to Olympic-style drug testing, right? Now, to many people, to the majority of the boxing world, that looked very suspicious. Now, these series of events between Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao would alter a lot of boxers' future, would basically affect them in many different ways. Now, understand this as well. 6 years ago, 2 years before the Mayweather versus Pacquiao negotiations fell through, Manny Pacquiao, he knocked out Ricky Hatton. Who was training Ricky Hatton? It was Floyd Mayweather Sr. Now, way before there were any talks of Pacquiao even fighting against Floyd Mayweather Sr., he was already telling people and anyone who basically wanted to listen that he believed that Manny Pacquiao was doping 6 years ago, okay? Right after Manny Pacquiao knocked out Ricky Hatton. Now, when I heard that, I was like, Senior, get the hell out of here. I don't want to hear no crazy stuff like that. I didn't believe it, okay? No one really took it seriously until Manny Pacquiao turned down the biggest offer that he will ever get in his entire career against Floyd Mayweather. When he turned down that huge offer against Floyd Mayweather, that's when my eyebrows started to raise up. That's when the majority of people who watch boxing, professional boxers, trainers, fans, everyone started to get a little suspicious. I mean, I remember like it was yesterday. After Manny Pacquiao turned down that fight with Floyd Mayweather, there was a different boxer, trainer, or someone in the boxing news almost every day or every week that was basically talking about the cloud of suspicion that is above Manny Pacquiao's head. Paulie Malignaggi, he came straight out and said that he thought that Manny Pacquiao was doping. And then you have Victor Conte, who did numerous interviews and articles talking about drug testing, and he basically broke it down to a T, explaining how all of these PEDs work, how you benefit from them, and then he even explained how you need at least a 14-day cutoff date to get the full benefit of the drug before you perform. This is exactly what Victor Conte said. He explained why you need a cutoff date at least 14 days before you perform, okay? He breaks it down in detail because this was something that he knows about. For those of you guys who don't know who Victor Conte is, go ahead and look him up and watch some of his interviews when he talks about PEDs. Victor Conte is basically the mad scientist that came up with all of these different PEDs and discovered a way that athletes can take these drugs and not be detected by all of the major organizations. Now, going back to the people who responded to Manny Pacquiao not taking the offer that Floyd Mayweather gave him. Like I said, you had Paulie Malignaggi and you had many other boxers and trainers that spoke on this, and they all felt that Manny Pacquiao had something to hide, all right? But then there was one fighter. There was one fighter whose opinion was extremely relevant, okay? And you know who that was? That was Juan Marquez. You know what Juan Marquez said while all of these fighters like Paulie and other fighters were coming out the woodworks talking about what they thought about Manny Pacquiao's suspicion? You know what Juan Marquez said? He said, if we ever fight again, Manny Pacquiao is going to have to be tested. I'm not going to fight him if he doesn't subject himself to random drug testing, okay? Now, what's funny about this, and this is just my own opinion, but this is around the same time that Manny Pacquiao decided to sue Floyd Mayweather, his father, and anyone else who had accused Manny Pacquiao of doping. Now, I truly believe that it wasn't until Manny Pacquiao found out that Juan Marquez was now talking about he's not going to fight Manny Pacquiao in another fight unless Pacquiao subjects himself to random style drug tests. And I truly believe that when Manny Pacquiao saw him come out and say that, that's when he said, okay, wait a minute. All these accusations is getting blown out of proportion. I'm going to sue Team Mayweather because they're the ones who started this. Okay, so I bring all this up because I thought it was pretty interesting that Juan Marquez, this is a guy who at one point he was against someone doing PEDs. So now we fast forward past the Manny Pacquiao situation with him not taking the Olympic style drug testing for the Mayweather fight. We fast forward past all of the many fighters that we all know that got busted for doping when it comes to PEDs, thanks to Floyd Mayweather and the series of events that took place with Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao. We fast forward all the way to the fourth fight with Manny Pacquiao versus Juan Marquez. Now, before I talk about that fight, I reminisce on one of my favorite movies that is a classic because it parallels to this situation of Juan Marquez and Manny Pacquiao with PEDs. There's a movie called Let's Do It Again. It's a very, very old movie with Bill Cosby and Sidney Poitier. If you guys have never watched this movie, it's an old movie, but you really need to watch it because it correlates perfectly with this situation right here. I'll give you guys just a little breakdown of what the movie is about. Basically, Sidney Poitier and Bill Cosby, they're a couple of hustlers. They're some con men, right? And Sidney Poitier, he knows hypnosis, right? He can hypnotize someone to basically get him to do whatever he wants them to do. So he takes this skill set to a local boxing gym so that he can make some money, right? Now they find out that the heavyweight champion is about to fight this bum who has no chance of winning at all, right? It's J.J. Walker from Good Times. Now J.J. Walker is super duper skinny. He's weak. He doesn't know how to fight. They go to his gym, and long story short, they hypnotize him to basically believe that he's Superman, right? So he goes in the ring. He fights the heavyweight champion that is highly favored to beat J.J. Walker easy. And all of a sudden, J.J. Walker, he pulls off the upset. Why? Because he's hypnotized to believing that he's Superman. So later on in the movie, for whatever reason, you guys can figure it out, but Sidney Poitier and Bill Cosby, they end up accidentally hypnotizing both fighters, right? They end up hypnotizing both fighters. Now both of them are basically drugged up in a psychological way. And now it's a super fight. It's Superman versus Superman. And I'll basically leave it at that. So the reason why I bring this up is because a lot of people are saying right now that Juan Marquez, the reason why he knocked out Manny Pacquiao is because he was drugged up. Manny Pacquiao, who a lot of people believe was drugged up before, wasn't drugged up when he was fighting against Juan Marquez the fourth time. So now you have some people saying, forget it. Why don't we just let both of them get doped up and have a super juice fight? That's what some people are saying, right? Now, going back to the beginning of this video when I told you guys that Manny Pacquiao turning down this Olympic-style drug test to fight against Floyd Mayweather for the biggest fight in history basically altered some fighters' career just because of those series of events. Manny Pacquiao was one of those fighters that was affected from his own doing. Okay? What I mean by that is when Manny Pacquiao turned down that test, that made almost everyone think that he had something to hide, that he may have been doping. So what Marquez did is, at first Marquez said, you know what, if we fight again, I think that guy's on something. I want him tested. And then all of a sudden, Marquez, he changes positions and does somewhat of a transformation by going out and hiring Memo Heredia, a guy who has already been busted for providing P.E.D.s to some of the biggest athletes in the world. He was busted along with Victor Conti. So this is the guy that Marquez decides to hire. Okay? So now, because Manny Pacquiao didn't want to take the test, he's got people like Marquez thinking that he's doping, and now Marquez says, well, you know what? If you're doping, then I'm going to dope too. This is the assumption. This is the way a lot of people are looking at the situation. So now Marquez, he gets in the ring, and now Manny Pacquiao, he catches a bad case of karma. The same drug test that he refused to take against Floyd Mayweather, now he's possibly in the ring with a guy who is possibly using the same drugs that people accuse Manny Pacquiao of using against Mayweather if he would have got in a ring with Mayweather. I hope that makes sense. So then we move on to Marquez versus Tim Bradley. Now Tim Bradley is saying, I want Marquez to be tested. Marquez says, I'll go ahead and take the test. You want to do Vada, Bradley? Not a problem with me. Let's go ahead and do Vada. This is what Marquez is saying before the contract is signed, right? Now, as soon as the contract is signed, all of a sudden, now Marquez, he backs out and he's refusing to do Vada. Instead, Marquez, he wants to do some new testing that Bob Arum came up with, which will be Nevada Athletic Commission testing, an organization that has never caught any fighter for using P.E.D.s. I mean, don't get me wrong, they caught people for smoking weed and using diuretics, but they've never caught anyone for using P.E.D.s, okay? And not only that, but Marquez, he's actually spending more money because the test, the Nevada Athletic Commission, they charge you more money to use that test than he would have spent if he would have did Vada. Okay, so Marquez is willing to spend more money to test with Nevada Athletic Commission instead of using Vada. All right, and now Tim Bradley, he's forced to pay for his own Vada testing, even though his own opponent is not even using it. And then you move on to the Bradley versus Pacquiao situation, where Tim Bradley still can't get a break even in the rematch against Manny Pacquiao. Why? Because Manny Pacquiao, he does the exact same thing that Marquez just did to Bradley. Manny Pacquiao agrees to taking Olympic-style drug testing before the contract is signed. Soon as the contract is signed, Manny Pacquiao says, I'm not doing no damn Vada. I'm doing this damn Nevada. That's what I'm going to do, Bradley. You're on your own if you want to do that Vada crap. That's pretty much what Manny Pacquiao said. Once again, here's Tim Bradley again, spending money out of his own pocket to do Vada testing while Manny Pacquiao gets to do Nevada Athletic Commission testing. Okay? So this is the series of events that has taken place since day one. Day one meaning when Floyd Mayweather first asked Manny Pacquiao to take Olympic-style drug testing. This is where we are today. And then you have the most recent story where we have pictures of Juan Marquez surfacing all across the boxing community, where he's now sporting his new outbursts of acne bumps all across his chest, which we all know, obviously, where that comes from. I guess we should have knew when we seen Marquez drink piss when he was fighting against Floyd Mayweather that he was willing to do anything to win a fight. So the point of this whole P.E.D. story is random style drug testing needs to be mandatory for the sport of boxing. When there was suspicion of Barry Bonds and Armstrong, they kept testing these athletes until eventually they got caught. They need to do the same thing with Juan Marquez and Manny Pacquiao.